Hello, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about IS. Now here you see a 300mm lens, which is one of Canon's probably most popular lenses, the 300 f4. I just want to talk about IS and how important it is. IS is probably more important to me and probably a lot of people than autofocus is. At the end of the day, with autofocus you can always turn it off and use manual focus. But what you need to keep in mind is not all IS is created equally. Some have 1 stop, 2, 3 and 4. And if you don't know what a stop is, basically it's increasing the light by 4 times, or typically one movement of the stop, forward or backwards. A typical example is f4 is quite a large hole where light can come through, and 5/6 is a smaller hole, and it tends to be 4 times less light when you go to a smaller aperture like 5/6 than f4. So that's the difference between f-stops, if you've always wondered. It's basically a lot less light, and every time you go up you're decreasing by 4 times the light. Anyway, as I was talking about IS, which is what we want to talk about, is there's various versions out there. Tamron call it VC, vibration compensation, Sigma call it OS, optical stabilization, Canon call it IS, image stabilization, and I believe Nikon have their own version, but since I'm a Canon guy, I'm not a Nikon fan. Sorry about that, Nikon guys. Anyway, some lenses have better image stabilization than others. This one has 2 stops of stabilization. The new 100 to 400 zoom has basically the equivalent of 4 stop stabilization, and this version Mark 1 70 to 200 has 3 stops of stabilization. The Mark 2 of this has 4 stops, and as I said, the 100 to 400 has 4 stops. What that means is, realistically speaking, is you can get the shutter speed really low, but sometimes it depends on your subject that you're trying to take a photo of. But really, if you're taking a picture of a bird flying very fast, then stabilization might not be that useful. However, if you're taking a picture of an animal that's not doing a lot, maybe they're eating or something, then a low shutter speed isn't going to be a major issue because they're not moving very fast. If you're going to Africa, taking some pictures of wildlife, they're not going to be moving very fast unless they're hunting. So obviously in the later hours when they're snoozing and you want to take a picture of a sleeping lion or a leopard or something, basically you're not going to need a fast shutter speed. So stabilization is more important. In my opinion, in the recent developments in camera technology, stabilization is far better than autofocus. You can always focus manually, and that's another thing I want to talk about, is don't forget about the ability to focus manually. A lot of people get bogged down by the fact that autofocus is the end and be all of what you need. It isn't, because you've always got manual focus there. So keep that in mind. An example of that would be the Sigma 150 to 600 and the Tamron 150 to 600. People have done reviews on it saying the Sigma's autofocus isn't quite as good as the Tamron's, but at the end of the day, if you can turn off the autofocus, then they're just as good as each other, aren't they? Except one might have better image stabilization than the other. So keep that in mind. So yes, image stabilization is what you need to be thinking about. How good is it? How reliable is it? If it's a Canon, it's going to always be reliable because they test these things. They're built like tanks, these are lenses. But obviously the third-party manufacturers have their own version of it. So when you're looking to see which is the better lens, try and find reviews on the image stabilization rather than the autofocus. Another thing I want to talk about is image quality. Always look into that and investigate it, research it. To me, autofocus speeds is irrelevant. Image quality and crystal and the clarity is more important, and so is the IS, the image stabilization. So whenever you're shopping for a lens and you're considering one over the other, like I have myself, I've been in that position. In fact, at the moment I'm considering the 150-600 Sigma and the 150-600 Tamron, which is better. The consensus is the Tamron's autofocus is better than the Sigmas, but then and they also sort of suggest that the image stabilization on the Tamron is better than the Sigmas. But then again, the Sigma is brand new and is ready for a firmware update, and you can always buy the dock and update it yourself. So basically, the question is in the air at the moment, which is the better OS, and that's what I would be bothered about. Which OS is better? If you can update the firmware through buying the dock on the Sigma, it could be a better buy than the Tamron, but the choice is yours. But like I was saying, image stabilization is where it's at. Taking wildlife or sports, image stabilization is definitely, especially sports in particular. If you're taking a picture of a car going round and you're trying to get the background blur, so you're using a slow shutter speed, you want the image stabilization to be really good, and that's what you want to be looking for, image stabilization over everything except image quality. I think image quality has to come first on your list of priorities, then the image stabilization, and then the quickness of the autofocus, because you can always get rid of that and manually focus. And if you're any good at photography, you can manual focus. You know, if you can't focus manually, you might as well give up. You know. Anyway, that's my roundup of image stabilization. Keep it in mind, and you know, research it. Thank you. Bye bye.